right, what up? This is Joe, and from me to you, my guest today, we have Tabeer Sindi. How you doing, Tabeer?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for being here. And what I'd like to do to kick us off is to get a little bit more background information. Can you kind of share a little bit of background information about maybe your mother, your father, just a little bit of info to kind of let us know a little
Yeah,
bit more about yourself.
absolutely. As you mentioned, my name is Tabeer. Uh, my dad was killed in 1988, so my mom raised me,
Hmm.
me and my brother. My dad had two wives, so I have two other brothers from my dad's side and a sister from my mother's side. It's just me and my brother.
So your parents, so where did they grow up?
Yeah, my parents they grew up in Kurdistan. As I mentioned, my dad was a freedom fighter. In 1988, he got killed by mustard gas by Saddam Hussein's regime, Iraqi regime of that time. And my mother's still alive, so she did grow up in Kurdistan, and she raised us.
I'm going to touch on, and my condolences about your father as well.
Thank you.
And I'm going to definitely touch on that a little bit later. So, what about yourself? Where were you born?
Yeah, I was born in Kurdistan, which is in northern Iraq. In 1985, I was born in Kurdistan.
During that time in 1985 till the time before that you came, can you kind of tell me about your childhood while you were in Iraq or
Yeah,
Kurdistan?
like me and many other friends and family relatives of my age, even younger and older, growing up in Kurdistan, and it wasn't so pleasant because the hardship we have and the conflict we had with the Iraqi regime. Kurds were always oppressed by the Iraqi regime. So my childhood, I would say, just like many other Kurdish kids, was not that great. I remember going to school instead of drawing a flower or something where all kids all kids usually draw with. Kids my age during that time we would draw basically like a tank or a bomb or something because that was the reality we lived in during that time because cause we're always oppressed. We were always on the run. So my childhood it was kind of traumatized.
Could you kind of describe like maybe an event that was kind of stuck out to you that was kind of that you feel that was or maybe like a traumatizing event for you that
Yeah.
you'll always remember?
Yeah, absolutely. In 1988, Saddam Hussein basically committed a genocide against Kurds. Uh, More than 5,000 people were killed in one city alone, the city of Halabja, by mustard gas, by chemical weapon. So during that time in 1988, in in a different city, my dad was killed along with his 13 freedom fighters, which we call them Peshmerga. So I remember it's like a dream for me. I can hardly remember that, but that will always stick with me. I mean, that was the day when my dad was murdered, so it's kind of it has still stuck with me until now.
Yeah, no, I could imagine that, especially at such a young age. So I also kind of want to touch on those events as well, but like following that event, like what do you remember or what was it like? Because myself being from America, I didn't have that particular
Right.
type of experience. So I just want to get a little bit more insight, like what was your daily routine since okay the genocide happened. There's a lot of oppression going on and stuff like that. So what was on you all's minds? I could imagine while you were like drawing tanks and stuff like that, when somebody else was maybe trying to draw an action figure or a sports themed kind of illustration or something like that. So, like outside, kind of paint a picture for me on like I know that you drew the tanks. So, what did you actually see?
Yeah, I mean, just imagine, Joe. After my dad was killed, I mean, we were left without a father, without a hero, without someone to guide you. Uh, Even during that time, we were on the run. Uh, Saddam Hussein basically his regime took over the villages and the cities, and he wanted to. The whole agenda was to do the ethnic cleansing of Kurds. So we had to run away. We didn't even get a chance to see my dad's body. Not only us, but many other families didn't even get a chance to grieve, with their loved ones. We didn't even get that chance. So imagine, at that age, running away from villages to different villages and seeking refuge in a different area where you have to depending on others to come help you, basically give you food and water. So we stayed in the camps for at least a year in a different city. Actually, not even a city, a village in the middle of nowhere, basically in a desert, depending on people to come and help you and give you some food and water. So after a year, we got back. We went back to home in the city of Zalko, the Hook province. Uh, Still grieving, not knowing what to do. We had just lost my dad, and but basically, there's not much I can remember, except and then 3 years later, in 1991, in 1990, once again Saddam Hussein came in the cities and he wanted to do the ethnic cleansing. So again, we had to run away, and this time I would say thousands of families ran away to mountains, mount where basically just to seek somewhere where you can be safe, because Saddam Hussein was again he wanted to wipe out all the Kurds. So like I said, thousands of families were seeking refuge basically to nowhere, and majority landed in Turkey camps. Luckily, Turkey opened their borders, let let us in. But some people even didn't get that chance to go into those camps. My family and along with many other families ran into mountains, stayed there for months, basically just to protect themselves. So my childhood basically it was that up until 1993, and then 94 up until 1996, and that's when U.S. military had their military bases in that region. So from 93 to 96, my brother was interpreter with the U.S. military, and luckily that's how we ended up here.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Um, and when you think of the mountains, like kind of like what do you mean, like kind of move to the mountains? Like I know there weren't any particular log cabins or anything like that you all were running to. So kind
Right.
of can you kind of this is like my last question in regards to this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you kind of just touch on like the type of you say running to the mountains? Kind of explain that. What were you?
There's still a saying until this day: Kurds have no friends but the mountains. So there's a big meaning to that. During that time when we had to leave our home, we went to mountains. Basically, like you said, there's no shelters, there's no cabins, there's no tents, there's no such thing in mountains. So basically, you just had to, for those who had a lot of kids, or elders with them, basically just j- the whole point was just to get out the cities, get out of the city, go to mountains where the airplanes don't see you. That was basically the whole point.
For sure.
Yeah.
No, it definitely makes sense. I definitely got a vivid picture in my head. Quite an experience for sure. Now, you kind of painted a picture of civil unrest, and I know like in 1923, that's when kind of was Kurdistan was kind of split up. Is that right?
Yeah. Right now, Kurds is the largest ethnicity, are the only largest nation without state of their own. Well over 50 million Kurds exist in this world without state of their own, meaning that they don't have an official country. In 1923, in favor this treaty in favor of Turkey, the Western countries divided Kurds into four different countries. We have 30 million plus Kurds alone live in Turkey, and then we have 6 to 8 million in Iraq, which where I came from, and then of course in Iran and Syria. So Kurds were divided into those four countries, basically. Uh, Before that, from 1920 up until 1923, Kurds did have. We were once a country, but it didn't last long because we didn't have the international community. So that's been the story of Kurds. Kurds in Turkey before they were not allowed to even speak their mother tongue, and Kurds in Iraq, as I mentioned earlier, Saddam Hussein, the regime of that time, declared and basically committed an unhumane genocide against Kurds. So that has been the story of Kurds. But right now we are closer than ever to gain independence. Again, that's gonna take a lot of support from international community. That's a different subject we can basically touch on
Yeah.
later on.
No,
Yeah.
it's all good. Now, I appreciate you getting that information. And I know that you mentioned that they kind of split them up between the four different countries. Now, being that they were split up, everyone split up between four different countries, is like culturally everyone acceptance of each other? Does everyone like, or Kurds like in this particular country, maybe in Turkey, a little bit different culturally than the ones that may be
Yeah,
in Iraq?
for sure. Although the language is the same, our Kurdish language is the same. However, we have a few different dialects, depending on the geographical area you live in. Just like you mentioned, Kurds in Turkey might have a different accent or dialect than Kurds in Iraq, and same goes for Syria and Iran. Although our cultures is different, is the same, but just depending on where you live, uh, the language barriers might be a little different, and also culturally, you adapt more into the culture of the country you reside in. So those are the little differences. We still, struggle with that because I remember when I first came to US, I met a friend. He was from different part of Kurdistan. I had no idea because we couldn't understand each other just because of the dialect. So that's a story of Kurds. Although Kurds do, we believe in coexistence. We are a secular ethnicity. We have a mixture of different religious groups. Although majority might be Muslims, but however we do have Catholics, Christians, Jews, and the biggest religious group in Kurdistan right now after Islam is the Yazidis. Yazidis they go way back 10,000 years ago. So Kurds have always been in their region, but unfortunately, because of some selfish politics of the Western countries, they divided us.
And I never really knew, because I knew majority of Kurds, the religion was mostly Muslim,
Yeah.
but I never really knew they had all different types of
Oh yeah.
religions as well. So that was interesting to me. I'm just being ignorant on my part, just not to know that. But
Yeah.
I
Well,
would assume that with any culture, but
see,
that's all that's portrayed
right.
within the media and stuff
Absolutely.
like that.
And just because we live in Middle East, people
Yeah.
automatically think we are, 100% ideology and everything is Islam. No, Muslims, like I said, it might be the majority of the people, but we also have different religions, and
Yeah.
they all, live together, and they all, accept each other,
For sure.
which is really rare in that region we live in, especially with the neighboring countries, having different ideology. It's been a challenge.
No, I can
Yeah.
understand that. Definitely. All right. So, and again, so let's talk about now. I know that you came to the U.S., you and your family, political asylum. Can you kind of explain that, your arrival here, or how that kind of arrived? I know
Yeah.
that you mentioned earlier that your brother was a
Mhm.
translator for the U.S. military, so he kind of helped in with getting you all here. But can you kind of explain that process? Because I know it just happened like in the snap of a finger.
Yeah, it really did happen so fast. People didn't really get a chance to say goodbyes to their to their loved ones. Uh, as I mentioned earlier, U.S. Had their military bases all over that region. So from 1993, I believe, all the way to the end of '96, my brother, along with thousands of people, were working for the U.S. military bases, whether as translators or as bodyguards or just regular services. So my brother, he was working with the U.S. military at that time, and then in 1996 in September, when they when U.S. military evacuated, basically Saddam Hussein declared that whoever helped in any way helped the U.S. military would all be executed. So imagine that fear. So luckily, they brought the U.S. military. They brought all those who work with them to U.S. And the process happened so fast. Like I said, people didn't even get a chance to say goodbye to their loved ones and their relatives. The process was we basically just crossed the borders without passports, without any legal documentations. Uh, Luckily, we didn't stay in any camps. We just crossed the border, Turkey border, and then they flew us to Guam. Guam is an island, American military island, and in the not in the city, but in the military base. So we stayed there for a couple of months, just for just for them to process, the legal documentations of thousands of people. And then that was the process, and then again, the flight was really funny because they took us to Hawaii for a few hours, and then to San Francisco, and then to Nashville. So we didn't choose to come here, but it was just like they just divided everyone to different states. Yeah, at first we wanted to go to Virginia because we had some relatives in Virginia, but we came here. So that was the whole process. It happened really fast.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to Nashville.
Yeah, thank you.
You've been here for quite a while.
It's
I
been
already know.
amazing. Nashville has been amazing to me.
Yeah, no, for
Yeah.
sure. But just to kind of touch on, you said again it happened really fast. Because I just want to kind of visually see, like, so kind of you kind of explained how you all got here, but like take me through the moment you found out. Then what were you thinking and doing within that so quick time period? What do you
Yeah.
remember? You remember your mom getting a phone call or something to say, hey, and then
Yeah.
what happened? You just packed up and
Right.
left, or what?
I remember it was around 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. My brother just came home and said, "Yeah, we're going to America." So just like that. I mean, and of course, my mom at first, or some of our relatives didn't want that. Where you guys going? America. This is not you guys. It's a different culture, different that, different.
Yeah.
How they think. But my brother said we have no choice. If we don't go, we will be executed. So it is in the best interest of us for us to leave. So that was kind of the moment, and then all of a sudden we had some people over. So it was kind of like a huge chaos, going around. Then the following morning, the bus came. We just went in the bus and just basically, it's like a dream, If because I was only 8 at that time, there's not much we can remember, but because everything happened so fast, we didn't get a chance, to basically to remember anything. So that's how it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Basically, what you just told me, that was like a great picture that you kind
Right,
of painted.
yeah.
So it gives me more of an
It was
insight.
a
Like
chaos,
the
huge chaos going on.
yeah, and I can see like people like asking, why are you going to America? So the person that you
Right.
was asking, did she also come along as well?
No,
Oh, she did not.
no.
Okay,
No.
but is she here with us is now, or she didn't get anything like to the genocide or anything like that?
No, she's still alive.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. That's blessed. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
good to hear. All right, so definitely glad, but definitely I can see how it could it's just such a dramatic change
Yeah,
so
'cause
instantly.
America was never even in
A thought.
a thought for us,
Yeah.
because we just heard, we just knew there was an America somewhere,
Yeah.
but there no what America was, what it is, the people, the language. We didn't know anything about it. So that's why some of our relatives were a little hesitant for us, just to make a quick decision. But again, that was our only decision and the right decision we made.
Yeah, no, for sure.
My brother made for us.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a good decision. Um, so you're in Nashville. So Nashville's changed so much, especially since you were a kid. Like, tell me something about Nashville now, or something from Nashville back then that you kind of miss now because we don't have.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Nashville. I mean, I've lived here almost 26 years, and I've seen all the changes Nashville has gone through, which it has changed for the better. Uh, it has brought lots of revenue to Nashville. Before COVID-19 hit, according to some articles I was reading, 100 plus people were moving to Nashville each day. So that's a lot of people for a small city like Nashville. Again, majority of those people were young folks, who are starting a new career, a new journey in their life. Nashville has brought so many opportunities for many people. So that's been the good side of Nashville. And of course, there's always, a good side and a bad side of it. Just imagine dealing with the traffic jam, every day. It's not fun. You can no longer just walk into any restaurant and just grab a menu and order the food. You basically got to have reservation, or you got to wait in line. So those are the little things I miss about Nashville. Of course, the cost of living has skyrocketed. So uh, I remember we rented our first apartment. I rented a 2 bedroom for like 575. That is no longer the case. You will not find a two bedroom apartment for that price. I don't think there's a I don't think there's anywhere in Nashville you'll find that. So
Yeah.
it's that kind of stuff that has changed. But again, I'm I'm personally I'm happy where I'm at. I'm happy about Nashville. Nashville is fun, and slowly is becoming more of a sports city as well. So of course we have them Titans, and then the Predators on Broadway.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah. So you're loving the growth, but kind of miss
Oh,
that old
oh
time,
yeah,
miss
very
the
good.
whole family
Absolutely.
feel. Yeah.
Yep.
I can dig that. All right. Cool. So I just want to kind of touch on that really quick. So now you're in Nashville, but I know that you said you all didn't have a chance to go to Nashville, but you also, even though I don't think you said it, but you stayed in Memphis for maybe a little bit short
Yeah,
period of time. Is
yeah.
that right? How'd you like
And
Memphis?
that was actually that was very different for us. Imagine coming from a foreign country, a third world country, and taking you straight to Memphis.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing bad about Memphis,
Yeah.
but for a, for a family that's coming from a foreign country, not knowing the language, basically not knowing anything, just they took us to these projects in the middle of nowhere, and there was only a couple of more families, they they were in Memphis like I would say 2 nights before us. I remember some of our friends, older friends, they had they would have to carry a knife on them just for us to walk from home to a grocery store and come back. That's how rough that area was.
Yeah, and I can
So it
imagine.
was a big shock for us, the culture shock, the language barrier. I remember we didn't get out the house for a whole week. We would just, peek through the window just to see like what's going on, why are we here? Who are these people? What's gonna happen? It was really challenging, but then luckily we had some relatives here in Nashville. We called them, they came to Memphis and helped us into Nashville. So it was really different.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nah, I can imagine because just shout out to Memphis as well, but culturally, like Memphis and Nashville are just completely different kind
very
of
very different.
cultures as well.
Very different.
So that's definitely interesting. So also, I've noticed that in Nashville, we actually have the highest population of Kurdish. We got the biggest community
Hmm.
of Kurdish
Yeah.
in the whole U.S. And I know that you kind of mentioned that in regards to the mountains, and I know that Tennessee also has that mountainous terrain. So
Yeah,
is that kind of something to do with why maybe?
it does a little bit. The weather here in Nashville and Tennessee as a whole is similar to back home, and also with back home being having mountains, and just similar to Nashville. I mean, as we all know, Nashville is all hilly, and so it's similar. But Kurds have migrated to Nashville into U.S. Period. In three different waves. In mid '70s, that was the first wave of Kurds migrated to U.S. and some of them, I wouldn't say majority, but some of them came to Nashville. So and then after Gulf War in 1990 and 91, all the way to 93, that was the biggest wave of Kurds, who migrated to US, and majority of them landed in Nashville. You know how if you move from a place to another place, you rather go somewhere that you know someone so who can help you get around the area, especially if you're dealing with language barriers. So that was the case, and then in '96 when we came, of course, everyone wanted to come to Nashville because there were already Kurds here, and I cannot say enough about the Kurds, our community here in Nashville. I remember helping us, with open arms. So that was the a good side. That was the a bright moment for us because we came to Nashville, not knowing anything. At that time, we were kids. We didn't work. My my oldest brother was the only one who was old enough to work. So again, he didn't know how to drive. It was different. But so I guess that's why a lot of Kurds came to Nashville just because the community was bigger here. Although we have Kurds in San Diego and Dallas, Moorhead, Minnesota, Virginia. The Kurds everywhere, but the majority of the Kurds, biggest population, is in Nashville, and we call it Little Kurdistan. Right now, there are well over 20,000 Kurds reside in Nashville. Although we don't have a specific number, but I would say more than 20,000 Kurds reside in Nashville.
Yeah, that's a big number
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
So I know that you kind of mentioned Nashville, and you were just kind of talking about some of maybe the challenges that you all may have had. So as an adolescent, now you're coming from Iraq to Nashville. I guess like in school and stuff like that. What were some of like your challenges or barriers that you might have seen
yeah.
socially, or just trying to learn maybe just in
Right.
school that you could kind of share?
Yeah. Well, for as far as kids, being adolescent, our biggest challenge was language, and because if you don't know the language, it's hard to understand as far as the curriculum goes.
Yeah.
And that was our biggest challenge. But at that age, you kind of pick up things quickly. Rather, for me personally, it didn't take me a long time to learn the language because at that age you kind of, like I said, you learn quickly. But still, in school, although the culture was different for us, here in the US, you basically have to change, wear a different clothes to school every day. You don't wear the same shirt, although it is totally fine. If you don't have it, I mean, as long as it's clean, you can wear the same shirt to school. It's totally. I mean, nothing against that, but the culture here it was different. You would see kids with different shirt on or different shoes on every day. So coming from somewhere, and plus, even financially, most of us were not there to basically to change your shirt or change your shoes every day coming to school. So that was a little bit the funny side of it. I remember wearing a same pants and a shirt for a whole week, and of course, kids would make fun of us, bully us. But again, uh, I personally didn't go through a whole lot of, challenges as far as people, friends making fun of you or bullying you. and there was a little bit of that, but nothing major, you know. So
Yeah.
it was only those stuff, and of course, on the other hand, we had a lot of nice students, understanding where we came from, uh, extended their help for us. So that was a good side of it.
Yeah, that was gonna be
Yeah.
my question as well. Did you also have maybe people that embraced
Oh,
you as you were?
absolutely,
Yeah, that
absolutely.
kind of understood the situation.
Yeah.
Was there maybe like any specific teachers or anything that you can remember that kind of that you know of that kind of stuck out to you?
Yeah. Uh, my middle school teacher, I don't know if she's still with us right now. I don't think she is, but Miss Ihime. Miss Ihime, she really helped me. Uh, let me say this funny story.
Okay.
In middle school, you know, we had just gotten here and we didn't know any language. A friend of mine who was younger, they were here before us. He taught me how to rap. Saying cuss words in that rap, which I had no idea what I was saying.
Yeah.
There were a few lines. I just memorized it in my head,
Yeah.
and he told me you can just say it everywhere. So I was I was singing that rap in class in front of Miss Ihime in class.
You got me tearing up over here. It's
Yeah,
funny.
because
Yeah.
I didn't know what was I saying. So I finished my rap, and then she told me again. Let's repeat, because I don't know what I was saying. And I mean, of course, the students in class, they were all laughing. Oh, what is he saying? Which I had no idea.
Yeah.
I remember she took me to the office. She said, okay, she had to get a interpreter for me. What he said was this, and that. It was really bad, So she spanked me for that.
Oh, did
Yeah, she spanked me for that. I remember that. But Miss Ihime was one of the first, and so lovely, and she really embraced it. She really not only helped me but helped my family as well. I mean, she was really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course there are a few other teachers that I remember who helped us, but Miss Ihime was the very first one.
That sticks out.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah.
And yeah, that's interesting. Do you actually remember what rap song that you were kind of singing, or what song it was?
It was something silly, man, like peanut butter, jelly, and fish, like mother, you know, mother flower, mother that.
Oh, okay. You can't
Yeah,
remember the song, but no, that's cool. I can imagine. No, that is silly. But it's good that she was able to understand it, because you never know. And that, like you said, that's kind of sticks out to you to this day.
right,
You
right.
were able to kind of share. So that's great to have people like that kind of show support and are able
Yeah,
to help.
absolutely.
So I know yourself that you also furthered your education as well. You have
Yeah,
a few degrees. Yeah, I think you have a master's degree in
yeah.
criminal science. Is that right?
I got my bachelor's in political science,
Political science. I'm sorry.
my master's in criminal justice.
Criminal justice. Yeah,
Yeah, although I didn't get into my field, but my plan was to go to back home and open this program or add this higher education master's program in Kurdistan and some of the universities there, because we don't have Kurdistan as a whole don't have the criminal justice program. They do as far as for undergrad, as far as bachelor's, but if you want to seek higher education in criminal justice, they don't have that school there. So I was trying to, you know, take this program to Kurdistan and hopefully help some of the police task force there and law enforcement. So if they wanted to, seek higher education and better their skills or their academic skills, I should say. But and unfortunately, the war against ISIS in 2014 started, so it really it impacted everything, just like how COVID impacted the whole world. The ISIS war, it really impacted that region, especially Kurdistan. So and but it's in my in long term goals. I still want to accomplish that. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, no, that would be
Yeah.
great for sure. So, what kind of inspired your push for that? Because after high school, did you go right to college away, or you kind of
Yeah.
work for a minute, or you just
Actually, after high school, as a teenager, sometimes friends have a lot of influence on you. So,
definitely know that for sure?
although I was fortunate enough to have good friends, in my circle. I've always had good people in my circle, but I didn't take college seriously. Up until 2009, I visited Kurdistan, and I saw how people, have changed. Everything that has changed. It wasn't the same Kurdistan I had came from. So it just kind of hit me. I was like, you know what? Once I go back after my vacation, I'm gonna start taking school a little more serious. So in 2010, that's when I really started, focusing and going back. I went back to school. I remember I went to TSU, and then that's how that's what really inspired me. And then criminal justice. I've always been that person who wants to give back to public, who wants to help others. So and of course, getting criminals off the street, that was one of the my main thing. But then the reason I pursued graduate school, just like I said, I wanted to not only help the people here in the UA, I mean, in Nashville, but I wanted to take this opportunity and take it to Kurdistan back home and can basically help them out. So that was the motive I had basically.
Yeah, no, definitely
Yeah.
very inspiring for sure. Now, currently, I know you're are an activist, and so what kind of drove you to your passion for activism? Just kind of basically what you kind of talked about,
Yeah.
pretty much there.
Yeah. Like I just said, I've always wanted, I've always wanted to give back to our community. Uh, Coming from a foreign country, living in the U.S., basically taking advantage of every moment. This is the land of opportunity, and I'm very fortunate and thankful for what this country has offered me and my family. So, what I wanted to do is be an activist, just kind of inspire the young generation, inspire my peers, trying to maintain our culture here in Nashville. Although we live here, we call Nashville home, but at the same time, we still want to maintain our culture. Basically, showing the new generation. I mean, me personally, I have 4 kids. I have 4 boys. I want them to know. I want to be a role model for them, for my kids first, and then to my peers. Basically, c- just showcasing my culture to non-Kurds through my personality, through my activities, through my how should I say this? Through my clothes, my our music, our food, traditions. That was that was my main. You know, that's what really got me into being working with a nonprofit organization. And in 2010, I joined Tennessee Kurdish Community Council. I'm still with them right now, although I was elected to secretary in 2014, and then lately we just held our elections, and I was elected to president of Tennessee Kurdish Community Council. So I'm just thankful for the friends and for our community who have trusted us, especially me. And I will continue to serve my community. Our organization, our main goal is for the community, by the community. We do so many different activities throughout the year. Although since pandemic started, we haven't been able to hold any events or activities because uh, the safety of our community is more important for us than anything else. But that's what kind of drove me into being a volunteer. I spent a lot of I spend most of my time volunteering in my community.
For sure, that's
Yeah.
very admirable. For sure. Now, do you have like a big influence on you, or who's one of your biggest influence or mentors that you could kind of say, look back and say, he's definitely been an influence on me, or I look at this person for inspiration or influence.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, Growing up without a father, of course, was the most difficult thing. Cause looking at your friends, there's someone there they always look up to.
Yeah.
For me, it was my oldest brother. My oldest brother, we always saw him like as my dad. He has really been close to us since my dad, died up until this day. Even though I'm married now with kids, but we still look up to him. So he has always been. His name is Fakir, and he was always the person I look up to, because he was very active. A very humble person. Uh, People looked up to him because of his kindness and uh, how generous he was to our relatives and community. So basically, I just wanted to carry that legacy of who my dad was, and then followed by my brother. And then I would say, what, uh, these people are my heroes. They've inspired me the most. So I just wanted to carry that legacy in my family.
Yeah, definitely sounds like a stand-up individual for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Now, how do you say his name again?
Fakir.
Fakir. Okay.
Fakir, yeah.
All right. Shout out Fakir.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. No, that's cool. So I want to talk more, I guess, in regards to the Tennessee Kurdish Community Council. Like, what are some of like the activities and things that you all do?
Yeah,
Can you kind of elaborate on that?
sure. Based on our for the based on our limited resources we have, because as nonprofit organizations, most of your funds come from charities and from excuse me from our community. But we've done numerous activities throughout the years. We've uh, we've held we had English classes sessions, Kurdish class sessions. I remember we had more than 100 students who basically wanted to come learn either English, especially for the older generation, and those are the newcomers to the city who wants to basically just get some basic English courses. English, we did offer that, and also Kurdish classes as well. But our biggest event of the year we hold annually is the Kurdish New Year Nowruz.
A new day.
A new day. Nowruz means a new day, a new beginning, new life. Especially for Kurds, it's a liberation from oppression, I should say. So we do hold that event. Unfortunately, because of COVID-19, we haven't been able to. We didn't celebrate Nowruz last year, and even this year on March 21st, it's the Kurdish New Year, which was a couple of days ago. But because of COVID-19, we had to celebrate it either with our families and at home, or just a small gatherings at the park. But I just want to say we didn't cancel this year's Nowruz event. However, we only postponed it, so we're still hopeful and optimistic. Once this pandemic gets better, hopefully, we're hoping by end of May, we should hold a similar gathering for our community. Again, it all depends on the pandemic, so we'll see how it goes. But that was our biggest event of the year. I should say our Nowruz event has become an iconic event in Nashville, because we have Kurds all over. Not only Kurds, but believe it or not, we have people from different states driving to Nashville just to join us and uh, enjoy the festivities we have throughout the whole day. It's a fun event, a picnic style event. We hold it at the park. Just kind of basically wear your clothes, lots of food, lots of colorful clothes, live music, people enjoying themselves, even uh, older people. We've also held so many other, as far as peace rallies. We do a little bit of everything in our organization. our whole mission is to basically do a little bit of lobbying for our community here. Not only helping our community here in Nashville, but also helping the Kurds back home. We've during during the war with the ISIS, we sent few containers of medical aid, for the fighters and for the refugees, because there were a lot of refugees, IDPs, seeking refuge in Kurdistan. Because ISIS war started in Syria. We have lots of Kurds in Syria, so they had to flee their home and seeking refuges in the Kurdistan region. So we sent few containers of medical aid to Kurdistan as well, just to help those who are in need medically and some hygienes as well. So, and we're still very active. Every year we hold uh, it's not an event, but I should say commemoration of the Halabja Anfal. As I mentioned earlier, in 1988, 5,000 people were killed by mustard gas in one day. So we're trying to every year we hold a memorial uh, for the fallen heroes. So we do different activities. We have lots of communication and close relationship with our local government here in Nashville. We've met with Bob Bob Corkers before, Jim Cooper, also our mayor here in Nashville. We're trying to be active, basically help our community as much as we can.
Yeah, definitely, and I can. That's a great thing. Happy New Year, by the way. I was actually looking forward to participate. I was gonna come and
Yeah,
participate with y'all.
unfortunately, it didn't happen. Yeah, because of COVID-19. We were, like I said, that event is really fun, and we've invited a lot of our American friends over the years. But again, we're still optimistic. Hopefully, once more people take vaccine, things should calm down a little bit. So we're looking forward, maybe in mid May or beginning June, things will get better, and hopefully we can hold a similar gathering for our community, and you can definitely join us.
Yeah, no, for
Yeah,
sure. I look forward to it, and it's good to hear that you all are actually, I guess, actively involved with the local politicians. I guess you met with a few different ones because you all, in particular, the Kurdish community, like you said, the largest in the U.S. But if you are the largest population of Kurds in the U.S., then you must have a large population in a particular county. So you
yeah,
all support may mean a lot to
absolutely, yeah,
the local
for sure. Because
politicians and things like that. Go
yeah,
ahead. I'm sorry.
there, yeah, you mentioned something for the support of politicians. Every vote counts.
Yes.
So during each elections or primary or general elections, local politicians, they do reach out to us. We have different organizations in Nashville, and they want our vote. Because one vote counts for them, and with us being the largest community here in Nashville, being second ethnicity behind Hispanics, they need us sometimes. And we want to be in every sect of the government here in Nashville. Because there are a lot of organizations, government organizations. So our goal is trying to be in each and every one of those organizations, so we can make an impact and have our voice in whatever choices they're making for the city and for the people.
Yeah, no, for
Yeah,
sure. Because yes, the community plays a big part in contributing,
yeah,
for
absolutely,
sure.
absolutely.
So that's good stuff. Now, I know a lot of people also maybe reach out to you all just to kind of inquire in regards to maybe history and things like that, just based upon your background, maybe like for papers and
Hmm.
whatnot.
Oh yeah,
Do you all have like your own institute for like Kurds or anything like
yeah.
that?
Well, unfortunately, we don't have a specific community center that provide all these services. However, we as an organization do have an office in the middle of our community on Harding Place. But again, that office is limited. We don't have those services we can provide to others. Almost every other week, we have students calling us from all over the place. Those are one. Then they're either doing their research about Kurds, or whether it's for a thesis or dissertation, or whether just for a book they're writing about Kurds. So we try to give them as much as information we can, whether by phone calls or Skype, or basically meeting them in person, just asking us certain questions, uh, just to kind of help them out. Our goal is, as an organization, we're trying to implement that institution that you're talking about. Basically, helping non-Kurds, even helping Kurds as well, especially the young generation that doesn't know much about our history and our culture. So if we had that center here in Nashville, if we had numerous books and researchers, and it would give them a whole lot of knowledge. For example, my kids, if they go to high school, if someone asks them a simple question about Kurds. I mean, I don't expect them to know much about Kurdistan, because there aren't many resources on their hands. You know what I mean? So we, as an organization, created this proposal. It's a big. We started it in 2012. Up until this day, we're still working on it. We're trying to implement a community center. Well, they'll provide all of this stuff. We have library, we have different classes, kitchen, just recreational stuff. Basically a little bit of everything for our community here in Nashville, just to kind of gather them, and if they want to seek, to learn Kurdish class, if they want to learn Kurdish, they want to learn English, or wants to basically teach someone how to cook. We're trying to have a little bit of everything in this community center, basically to help out our people here. So hopefully we can accomplish that, but that's gonna take a lot of support from our community here in Nashville.
Yeah, for sure. I could just imagine, maybe just the cost in general could be quite expensive.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's good that you all are kind of active in the community. You have the politicians that you're actively in contact with. Maybe they can somebody can kind of go and lobby for you all in support, because Nashville is a melting pot, and then you see other communities that they have their
Right.
own particular centers and things like that. So it would definitely be a good look for just Nashville in general, just to kind of have that, because it'd definitely be a big point of contact for information.
Kurds are well known in in the greater Nashville community. We always say this, not only Kurds, but to our American friends, our Hispanic friends. Our door is always open for help. So
yeah, for sure. And just like you kind of mentioned, not having those resources to kind of get information, that was like really one of my bases on having you join us for this particular program, so that way we can kind of, because I have no other way to kind of find out information unless I talk maybe to someone directly. So that definitely helps out a lot and gives me a whole different insight and perspective, because you would never know, because it's not written on you that this is my background, this is where I came from, and stuff like that. So nobody would never have that or would even know that you had that type of experience. So it's definitely interesting and very intriguing. So in regards to anything upcoming, is there anything else that you kind of know offhand that you like to share with everybody?
yeah, well, as a president of of a nonprofit organization, we are a 501c nonprofit organization, and like I said, our door is open. For any ideas and suggestions. Because there's, no matter how much we do for our community, there's always room for improvement. We take any critics and any ideas, or with open arms. Not only for Kurds, but for our American friends as well. Uh, if For students, if they want volunteer hours for school, we also provide that. So there's many ways you can help an organization, not only financially, but you can basically just come and help commit some of your time teaching someone, or basically guiding someone, for tutoring, for anything. There are many ways you can help a nonprofit organization. So we're always looking for help because we have lots of activities coming up after COVID-19 calms down a little bit. So we're hoping, to gain more support from our greater community in Nashville.
For sure.
Yeah,
No, I like it. Well, Nashville is the melting pot.
it sure is.
That's all I had, Tabeer. I really appreciate you joining me
Yeah.
and sharing your story. It's definitely been a pleasure for real.
Absolutely.
Very
But
interesting.
thanks for having me again. It was nice. It was nice seeing you again, Joe. Because me and you, we go way back.
Yeah, we go way
Yeah.
back, but definitely we go way back. But like I said earlier, you really don't know about an individual until you kind of sit down and talk with them,
Absolutely.
because a lot of this stuff I've known you for years and I knew nothing about
Right.
it. So
Right.
I'm glad we were able to kind of
Yeah.
chop it up and because definitely it gives me a whole different perspective in regards to everything. So
If you want to learn more about Kurds in Nashville, or if you want to see any of our events, in Nashville, you can simply go on the website we have, and also our Facebook page, the Tennessee Kurdish Community Council, or our website, tnkcc.org. Again, tnkcc.org is our website. We have lots of pictures, lots of information on our website.